Hey, it's Joy Foster, founder of Tech Pixies, and I am really excited about today's podcast. I am going to speak with some incredible alumni who have been a part of our program and who've transformed into these incredible, they were incredible women in the beginning, but now they're transformed women with their amazing businesses. So first to the stage is Julia. Thank you for joining, Julia. I am so glad
Hi.
you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's really exciting to get to talk to you. Let's just start by telling us a little bit more, or tell everyone who's here a little bit more about you, or if they're listening on the podcast. What were you doing before Tech Pixies, and what are you doing now?
Okay, so I'm a creative of all types, and before I joined Tech Pixies, I was working as a creative brand manager. So that encompassed, working for lots of different retail brands such as Hobbs and Fig Leaves, with their end-to-end creative process. So a bit of graphic design, web support, photography, art direction, the whole thing, which I absolutely loved. And I went on maternity leave with my daughter, who's 4 today, by the way.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. And whilst I was on maternity leave, it was like a real opportunity for me to start thinking about what other options there might be out there that were a bit more flexible, and how I could build a career that I would love working for myself. And that's when I came across Tech Pixies. And I felt at that point like adding some social media skills to my broad range of repertoire could really help me go when I decided to go it alone.
And so, and now you have gone it alone. So we'll come to that a little bit later, and how that's worked for you and your family.
Yeah.
How did you first find out about Tech Pixies? Do you remember?
I think it was through social media, I'm sure. And it was in 2018, so it was when the course was transitioning from being more of a face-to-face course into being online. I think it was one of the first online ones that was run that way. So yeah, I'm sure it must have been through social media. Oh no, that's it. I went to a talk about a brilliant book by Deborah Kahn called She's Back. And I was looking at some other rival digital courses. And she said, don't do those. Do Tech Pixies. I know Joy and you'll love it. And da, 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 da. And so that was it. It was on her recommendation. And she was the one in that book. It's really good. It says about playing the long game. And I had a chat with her after at this event, and I said, I really want to quit my job. I want to do something else. She said, don't quit a good job, but play the long game. Think about what it is that you want to do the course, like think it through. And I really expected them to just be like gung ho, no, just follow the dream, do what you want to do. But it was through her advice that I did the course.
Oh, that's great. Well, I love Deb, and I love that book. Can't recommend it enough. So that's a great point, though. You were wanting to go on your own, go it alone. You obviously were going to play the long game, stay in the game, stay in the career you had until you could go it alone. What was your biggest problem as you were trying to go it alone? What was the thing that was stopping you from being able to do that right away?
Yeah, I think it was confidence. It was my own limiting belief. It was my own, well, surely I can't do that. That sounds too big and bold and brave. And, maybe I don't have this skill and maybe I don't have that skill. And so definitely a lot to do with confidence. And that's where the course helped a lot. And it was obviously brilliant to learn all the social media stuff and be part of the community and really build that. But yeah, it was definitely confidence, and there was quite a lot around the security of being in an employed role and with a young family. And I'm sure lots of people will feel this way as well, is that I was like, well, what happens if I don't have the income? What happens if I can't make as much money as I need to. So there was a lot of that. And I remember some of those early conversations in coaching, which were about, women having financial independence. And I didn't feel like that was something that was available. So there was a lot of that.
What direction do you think your career would have gone if you hadn't tackled the confidence problem that you were facing?
I think well, the company that I was working for went under, so that I was made redundant ultimately. I could quite still possibly be working for that company if they were still there. It was very flexible and easy for me to stay. Or I'd be probably doing something very similar, but it wouldn't be what my heart was telling me I really needed to be doing. And I think that by really digging deep into what it was that I was able to do and what my USP and my skills were, I was able to get that confidence and go for it.
Well, okay, so now we know you've got that confidence, you made that transition, but I want to know a little bit more. How would you describe yourself now and your situation now?
So do you mean in terms of how I feel about it, or just in terms?
Well, in terms of your confidence, having gone through the program, where would you say you're at with your confidence now? I mean, I remember some of the early coaching calls when you were making the leap of faith to, start doing your own stuff. And I mean, you've come a long way since we started working together, and it's incredible to see. What would you say now about your confidence level?
Yeah, I'm so much more confident. I really, the things that I'm doing day in, day out with women I don't know and reaching out to clients and contacts, and I kind of never thought I would be doing it in quite the same way that I am. Some of the first opportunities I was given was to do some workshops for some big groups of people, and I mean, a lot of it was out of my natural comfort zone, but I just fought the fear and did it anyway. And yeah, I'm so much more confident day in, day out, and I love the work that I'm doing. It's so much more rewarding. It couldn't be better.
Well, that's what I'd love to know. So what's changed for you?
So the way I'm running my business now is that I am able to kind of juggle my own time, manage my own time, not juggle my own time, manage my own time. So before it felt like more of a stressful juggle, and now I'm working school hours. So my daughter started school in September, so I'm able to work, a flexible day. And when I want, I'm not working in the evenings. I'm able to kind of structure that how it works for me. And I've got a really broad range of brilliant clients and women that I'm working with on branding projects. And it's just really ticking all the boxes in terms of the way that I like to work. It's there's a lot to do, but it's I'm managing my own time and my own creativity.
Oh, that's amazing. And I know that's a dream that a lot of women would love. And I love how
Yeah,
you reframe that from juggling to managing.
yeah,
One thing we talk about all the time at Tech Pixies, especially through the neuro coaching, is how important the words we use are. What we say to
yeah,
ourselves, what we realize we're saying to ourselves. So many times we're unconsciously, subconsciously speaking to ourselves. And those words are so, just so important. And I love how you reframed that. So, I mean, can you share a little bit more? I mean, obviously, up to you how much you want to share, but in
yeah.
terms of the income that you're earning now versus the income that you were earning before, tell us a little bit more about that if you feel comfortable. You don't have to tell us the numbers, but maybe just
No,
tell us
that's fine. Yeah.
relatively.
So before I was working 3 days, so I did have flexibility in my old role, which is part of the reason I stayed there for quite so long. But it was okay money. It wasn't incredible. But in the 6 months since I've had my business, I've managed to in that 6 months I've earned my year's salary that I would have done in my old job. And that's partly because when I first started, as a lot of women will do, and a lot of tech pixies will do, didn't charge enough. And then I started kind of, as my confidence increased and I realized that I didn't need to be so desperate for the work. The work was coming, the work was finding me, and people were finding me. I was able to kind of gradually increase my prices to a place where they felt good. I got I've had some good contracts, and I've had some regular clients and people that keep coming back for more work. So it's felt really good, and I think every month I'm still in a bit of a salaried head, and every month I have to kind of feel like, oh, have I earned this much this month? Have I earned this much? And then you get to the point where you're like, actually, this is the picture now. And when I totted it up and thought, actually, this 6-month picture used to be my annual picture, you think, okay, I can take the pressure off now. Like, this is, and it's learning to be grateful for that as well, and think this isn't just, hopefully, this isn't just one good month. This is a good 6 months, and hopefully it'll be another 6 months. And being really grateful to be in that situation, and be around for the family more.
I love how you brought in gratitude, because we talk about that a lot at Tech Pixies. The language of abundance is the language of gratitude. And I know that it takes a while to shift into that space of gratitude, because sometimes you're not there, and it takes a while to get there. But once you're there, and you realize how thankful you are. I mean, I look back sometimes and I think I'm so thankful for the women who've come to our program, so thankful for women like you and so many of the others, because you believed in yourself. It's important for people to understand that an investment in upskilling is not an investment in the program. It's an investment in you, because you're the one who has to still do the work. You can't just sign up for a program and magically it gives you results. You've got to actually do the work. You got to show up for the coaching calls. You've been on a lot of the coaching calls. You've received advice. You've given advice. You've been there for the community. You've been in the community. You showed up. You did the work. And I think that makes a huge difference. But it's not an investment in the program or the course. It's an investment in you. What could you say to that?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I remember many of the calls and things that we've done, and I think you have to apply it. You can't just listen and not do. I think all of the different exercises that we had, which were part of changing your mindset and your shift into what it could be, and that breakdown to breakthrough call that I had with you was, I remember so clearly you saying to me, but what's the worst that would happen? Like, what is the worst that would happen? And I think sometimes now when you think about, you can over escalate things into a point where you're like, actually, just give it a go, just have a go, try it, see what happens. You can build it into such a big thing. But yeah, definitely it's about doing the work, and the Tech Pixies community is just so brilliant to still be a part of. I'm still working with so many Tech Pixies day in, day out. And it's just a fabulous community.
I think that's been one of the really cool things that's come out as the community's gotten bigger. There's been more room for collaborations, more people from different backgrounds. I think what's interesting is everyone needs social media. So we have people in the community with all sorts of different backgrounds. We've got people with branding backgrounds, website backgrounds, graphic design. There's a million different knitting, crochet, dogs, gardening. It's like the array is huge. And actually, Tech Pixies want to buy from Tech Pixies, which is so cool, because when someone's looking for an interior designer, they're going to look for a Tech Pixie first. And I think a huge part of that has to do with the mindset shifts that everyone in the program knows the other Tech Pixies have had too. So when you're working with someone who's got an abundance mindset. You're working with someone who's got a creative outlook, and you're working with someone who's had a transformation personally, from the inside out. And I think that you speak the same language, and I think that's why it's become really special.
Yeah, it's really true. It's absolutely true. And I've been really inspired by so many of the other stories that have, of people that have gone through the program, and women that have transformed their lives as well. And it does make you think, well, if they can do it, I can do it too, surely,
Yeah, well,
And
we have like that famous Friday post, which is, post your wins, and it has become so popular. I think the last few weeks we've had over 450 comments
yeah,
on it. Everyone gets to drop in their promotions and they get to, cheer each other on. I think it's really important to share your wins every week, because then other people see what's possible. And I think that's, if, like you said, if she can do it, I can do it. And
everybody wants to see each other succeed, right? When you're in that place. And I think even for me, where I'm not directly working in social media, so the most that I do really in terms of obviously create my own content. I did have some social media clients at the beginning, but realized that probably wasn't quite the right space for me. But now I'm able to collaborate with other tech pixies and say, well, you can bolt on my design service and I'll bolt on your social media service. And there's so much more of that going on, and conversations around that all the time. But if I hadn't done the course and got into Instagram in particular, I get a lot of my clients through Instagram. I get a lot of recommendations through Instagram. And if I hadn't done that training, and a lot of the things that the designs that I create for people have that strategy backbone that I learned at Tech Pixies. And then people are like, oh, she's not just making it look good. Like, it's actually going to work for my content, and it's going to make it easier. And I'm talking the language that everybody needs when they're doing their grids.
I love that. So if someone's considering joining our social media mastery program, what would you say to them? What would you tell that person is possible in the very near future if they take that leap of faith?
Well, my latest mantra is anything is possible, because I really do believe it. Anything is possible. If, like we said, if you are dedicated, if you want to make the investment, you want to make the change, do the work and put in the effort, then it's totally transformational. And I have done that, and I have done that journey. I've changed my career, and it's changed all our lives in our family. And I think that it was the absolutely best thing, and I will forever be grateful to Tech Pixies for giving me the confidence boost and the quantum leap that I needed to do it.
Oh, I love that, Julia. Well, I have another question for you. What does the future look like for you?
Okay, well, the future is exciting. I've got loads of plans for next year already. I'm doing, I have got a website at the moment, which was a very quick and dirty that I set up when I did a webinar when I launched the business. And now I'm having a full remodel of the website so that it showcases more of what I'm doing and how I can help people. Next year I'm going to invest in myself again, and I'm going to train to be a coach. So when I am promoting myself as a brand coach, I can actually have that as a formal qualification, because a lot of the support I give people isn't just, here's a lovely logo, crack on with it. It's a lot of women feel quite overwhelmed by the creative process, and they need a bit more nurture and help making creative decisions. For some people, that's just not a day in, day out thing. So that's something I'm looking to do next year. And what else am I doing? And I'm also bringing on board someone to help me.
That's a big step. I love it.
Yeah, I know.
I was talking to a tech pixie the other day, and I was asking, how she was doing and kind of her long-term plans. And she was talking about her staff. And I was like, I love it. I love that tech pixies are now doing so well that they're hiring people. I mean, this is why it's this is why it just, blows my mind, because that's a big step, hiring someone. For a lot of people, there's a lot of mindset shifts you got to make to do that.
Yeah.
And I love that you're making that step. This is so good. Well, we've got people who are live watching this right now, and I would love, if they have questions, to drop them in the chat, because I'd love to ask those questions. Leanne Brown's here watching today. She says, I work with Tech Pixies too, and it's wonderful. She says it's a no-brainer. Tech Pixies Social Media Mastery is the best course, community, accountability, and support there is. I love that,
So
Leanne.
true.
And Leanne's
Yeah,
been
definitely.
in our community for a long time. Nicola knows you, of course, and she says, Julia is a great coach already.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Nicola.
I love that. And Janet's joining us. She's tucking into a late breakfast, and she's enjoying watching us chat. So if anyone has any questions directly for Julia, that would be great. Well, I've got you for a few more minutes, and while we're waiting for any questions to come in, what I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned something earlier, and I think this is a great little chance to do a little top tip teaching. You said a lot of your clients come from Instagram. So what are some of your top tips for getting clients on Instagram? I think that'll be a nice little bonus information for people.
So a lot of my clients that come through Instagram now are people that know me already. So it's definitely about building a community, and taking the time to do that strong engagement piece, especially in the beginning, to make sure that you know the people that are following you in a way that you can, and definitely through direct messages, like nothing cold, but just trying to get across that conversation and keep that conversation going. I Interestingly as well, I've had a couple of inquiries that have come from doing lives. So that's would be another big tip for me, is that although, again, that feels out of your comfort zone, if there's someone, especially another tech pixie, that can kind of add to your skill set and they can add to you, so it's a really mutual collaboration.
I've loved those collaborations, the live Instagram collaborations between tech pixies. Those are so much fun.
And it takes a bit of time. It does take a bit of time, but I think if you can feel a bit like, oh, do I really have to be doing this again right now? But it is really worth it. And every time I start to feel a bit demoralized with Instagram, I then get a client post something. A couple of clients yesterday posted things that and tagged me in it, and then I get new followers and I get new people talking about what I've been doing and how I've been helping them, and you think, actually, that's what it's all about. So I would definitely say authentically build a community of people that you can have a conversation with, people that you can collaborate with, and share that conversation. And the more people hear you talking about what you can do, and they're like, oh yeah, I need that.
I love that. Well, and of course, we did our social media crash course recently, and I was telling people that I was talking about the sunflower effect, and I was talking about creating a way to basically convert your social media subscribers, or your social media community, which is a better word, into an email list and an email community. Because basically, organic social media only gets seen by 3 to 10% of your community, whereas emails get opened 20 to 40%, sometimes even up to 60%, depending on how much clout you have with your audience, or your community, we should say. I really think community is so much better than audience, following, subscribers, because that's what it becomes when you have engagement and people are chatting and connecting with each other. It's so important. So now you have a mailing list, and you have a way of getting people onto your mailing list. And so what do you offer to entice people to get onto your mailing list? Because we were coming up with ideas last night when we were doing the social media crash course, we were coming up with ideas for how people could connect with people beyond social media and into email. What did you do?
So my very first and most successful lead magnet that I created from Instagram was a brand toolkit. So it's an editable one-page Canva template that you can go and you can put in your fonts and your colors and it's a one-page cheat sheet, and it just it helps you see if you've got everything you need for your brand in one place. It gets you organized. It's a really, really simple tool, but lots of people have loved it. And I've done a few other things since then. And so yeah, I do have a mailing list, and I really love doing a weekly newsletter to my base. And it's really lovely when people, reply directly to that email, and they say, "Oh, I've seen this and I've seen that," and it's just a really good way to keep up the conversation that is slightly different to what you would put on your Instagram potentially. So yeah, that's been my best one so far, but I'm looking to do others.
Where can people get a hold of that in case they want it? I know I grabbed it when you put it out. I was like, I want that. I love Canva. In fact, we have a free Canva training for Canva vision boards. So, if people want to create a Canva vision board, which is the first step that we tell tech pixies to do with Canva, because it's a great way to learn the tool, but also some personal development as well. So where can people they can get a hold of our vision board at techpixies.com/Canva, but where can they get a hold of your branding board?
So my links are available if you go to my Instagram handle there at This Is Be Creative, and then there's a link in bio. I think it might be the lead magnet that's there at the moment. I think might be my color guide, which is another great one to check out. That's that one at the moment. But I can maybe add a link to it in the chat after.
Yeah, that'd be great. Or you can
One.
just, if someone DMs you, you could also send it back to them there.
Yeah.
I'll just put up there the techpixies.com/Canva if you want to get started with your Canva vision board, which is the first step to becoming a tech pixie. Really, is starting to think about your future. Did you create a Canva vision board while you were at Tech Pixies?
I did. Yeah.
And do you still use that?
Yeah, I need to do a new one. I did one in the very beginning, and then we repeated the exercise with Teresa a few years later, I think. And I did it again, and it was really different. And now I think I need to do another one.
Well, I mean, they are the kind of things you want to update on a regular basis. Did you ever look back on the first one and go, "Oh my gosh, I achieved all of that"?
Yeah, there was a lot in there which was about, like what we said, there was about a bit more kind of a lot of it was about the fact that I felt creatively frustrated. I felt like I was doing a lot of what I could do, and it was easy and it was comfortable, but it wasn't really lighting me up anymore, to put it a better way. So there was a lot about that. There was a lot about in the board, and also kind of that financial independence more and things like that. And looking back on it, I was then like, oh yeah, this is great progress. This, there's always more that you want to do. That's the thing. Once you start off down the route, you're like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And but I think the doing the exercise as well as having the visuals, that's what stayed with me too. So I've still got the image in my mind.
I love that. Lindsay says she used your branding board. It was fantastic.
Yeah, she did. Lindsay was brilliant with it. She was one of the first people to actually show me what she'd done. So it was amazing. I loved that. It was really early on for me having created it, and she sent it back to me and she was like, "This is what I've done. Does it look good?" And I was like, "Wow, that's amazing."
Well, and Stephanie says, I grabbed it too, loved the toolkit, and also loved working with Julia on my branding. You're brilliant to work with. Yet to launch, but coming soon. I love that so much.
Yay.
Well, I want to thank you, Julia, for your time and your openness. And I hope this has inspired some people who might be sitting on the fence about joining Social Media Mastery, that they can see what's possible. And
absolutely. Yeah.
What I love is, if it's possible for you, it's possible for them. And that's the most important thing to take away. And also to remember that this is not an investment in a program. This is an investment in you personally, in your future. And the path you're on now is entirely different than the path you would have been on had you not made the choice to move forwards with personal development, to move forwards with training. Yeah. And
yeah. It has been amazing. It has been really amazing. And it absolutely is an investment in your own potential and what you can get out of it.
do you have any final words of wisdom for those who are listening to this?
Yeah, I think just don't limit yourself by thinking that those opportunities aren't out there. If there's something in your mind that you want to do, whether it's a completely new job or change, set up your own business or, get back into work, then it is a really, really great place for getting the confidence you need, the skills you need, with a huge group of supportive women that have just always got your back.
Ah, so true. And Steph says, absolutely, so good to see how many Tech Pixies have developed and grown. All right, Julia, well, I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for
that's
being
lovely.
here.
Thanks so much for having me here and talking today. And thank you for all the Tech Pixie support. It's just been incredible.
Well, we'll continue that.
Yeah,
To be
exactly.
continued. All right. Wow, that was amazing. She was great. I am so glad that we got to chat with Julia. Now I have, this is going to be part 2 of our 2-part podcast on these 2 amazing alumni that I'm interviewing today. So I'm just going to go ahead and restart the Tech Pixies podcast spiel so that we can move into part 2. So hello, it's Joy Foster, founder of Tech Pixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And I'm really excited now to bring on a second guest that we are interviewing today who's had a major transformation through the social media mastery program that we offer at Tech Pixies. So Carrie, you are in the house.
Hello.
I am so excited about this interview. It was wonderful. On the last podcast, we interviewed Julia Heffer, who's done this amazing work in branding. And I think it's really important to bring a different story to the podcast. One of a math tutor who was living with her parents and was on government benefits and has completely transformed in a very short period of time. So let's start by just tell me about yourself and tell me about where you were when you found Tech Pixies.
Okay, so I've been teaching on and off in different settings for about 10 years, in the heritage sector and then in the classroom. And then COVID happened and I was on supply. So supply teaching was no longer needed. The last thing they wanted was strange people in and out of different schools all the time. So I found myself in a bit of a quandary, didn't know what I was going to do. I was lucky I was furloughed, so it wasn't an emergency straight away. In May, our furlough ended and we were like, yeah, schools aren't going to take us back. So we started to worry about what I was going to do next. I tutored a couple of children just as a favor for friends, things like that. I said, actually, I quite enjoy this, so maybe I could carry on with this, but I had no idea what to do. So in the September last year, I made the decision to tutor full time because supply teaching just wasn't going to be practical anymore with one student. I was pottering around on Facebook trying to work out what I was going to do and how I was going to manage the situation. And I saw the Tech Pixies advert and I was like, oh, lunchtime, that sounds nice. I can have a cup of tea and, do my thing and see what happens. And the next thing I knew, I was like, I really like this. This is great. I loved the mindset stuff. I really needed the mindset stuff. I was in a point of my life where I had no confidence. Everything had just fallen apart. And I was like, I really enjoy this. And then we got to the end and the whole course announcement was made for the big course. And I was like, this sounds so amazing, but there's no way I can afford it. No way at all. So I got a bit emotional and I was like, oh, well, maybe next time. And there was the scholarship. And my partner said to me, well, do it. The worst that happens is you don't hear anything. So I did. And I was so, so lucky. And I will be forever grateful for that scholarship because that changed my life, completely changed my life. Now, a year later, I am fully booked. I'm turning students away at the moment. I've got a waiting list. The holidays have become boosters for students I've never met. It's just blown up and it's crazy.
Well, I remember when I shared your story last night. I shared your story in the social media crash course whenever people watch it, but I shared your story in the crash course and I put up your vision board. We last night, the very first thing I taught was, create a vision board and use Canva to do it. So if you go to techpixies.com/Canva, you can grab a free training on how to create a vision board. And you did exactly that. So you created this vision board with 5 students. By the end of 2020, you wanted 5 students. And I remember jumping on a coaching call with you at Christmas time, right before Christmas time. And you're like, Joy, I have a problem. I was like, what's the problem? You're like, I'm fully booked. I've got 21 students and I just snuck that one in. And it was such a great problem to have. I mean, this is not a problem that most people envisage having within a few months of creating a vision board, but it happened for you. And, like you said, a huge part of that was the mindset shift. And it's interesting, you talk about the wait list for people to work with you. We have a huge wait list for our scholarships now. We have very limited scholarships and we're working to create more, but, they are hard to get. And, you obviously very much deserved one. And we don't have any at the moment. This is being filled in October of 2021 because we've already run out of all of the scholarships for 2021, but we will have them again in 2022. And they are important because they really do change people's lives. So I'm really glad you talked about that. I think there's so many questions I want to ask you, but let's go back to, so in December, you had 21 students and you had this problem, like you had no more space for students. So what did you decide to do?
So, well, I debated it for ages, and with a bit of helpful encouragement from you, I put my prices up.
I love it.
And I'm still fully booked. So it turns out you were right, Joy.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I love that I was right even more. No, I'm teasing. This is so interesting because Julia spoke as well about raising her prices. And I think this is a huge mindset block for women. So talk to me about how you overcame your fear of raising your prices.
So I did it step by step. So I had my target price that I wanted, and then step by step, I started to raise the price just a little bit here and a little bit there. And then I found once I hit the £30 an hour mark, that people who were contacting me were far more serious about what they wanted. They were far more focused on what they wanted as an outcome for their children. And they were less likely to try and barter with me. So I don't know if it happens in other industries, but in tutoring, you set a price and then the parents think that they can negotiate that price down or up, like as much as they want to down. And you'll just accept that because you're so grateful for their work. And some
do you think that you would have accepted it before Tech Pixies? You would have accepted a barter?
Without doubt, because I'd have just been like, there's a student, I just need the student. But Tech Pixies, if Tech Pixies taught me anything, is to value my worth. There's years of experience going into that. It's not just that hour or 45 minutes or hour and a half that I'm with their child. It's the planning, it's the preparation, it's all of the years of education that I've been through myself, all the CPD that I do. Everything comes into that. So they're buying an hour with me rather than buying an hour of teaching. And since I've changed that mindset, I'm far happier to talk pricing than I used to be. I used to be really, really uncomfortable about pricing. But now I've got my worth. I know where I am.
Ah, that is so cool. Now tell me, you set that like ideal price. Have you surpassed that now?
Not yet, but that will be next April.
Why next April?
Because April is where I change for the financial year and everything like everybody does. And I've done it in increments every so many months. So my existing customers are used to that. And for new customers, April is a good point where we tend to see year 10 students coming in ready for their exams in year 11. And year 9 students have just had their mocks and their reports. So they're looking for tuition. So for new students, it's a good point that they'll be naturally coming in.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you're raising your prices again. That's so cool. Okay. So now let me ask you this in terms of, how it's changed your life from a financial independence standpoint. What has transpired for you? Because like I said in the beginning, at one point, so you put in the Facebook group at one point, you're like, I moved out and I freaked out. I like direct message you. I'm like, what? You moved out? Like, and I was thinking like you moved out of your marriage and all that other stuff. And which does happen. I mean, let's be honest, it does happen at Tech Pixies. People shift mindset, and then suddenly they realize they're married to someone that doesn't want to go on that journey with them, and it doesn't work out for them. That does happen. And that's part of transformation, right? You don't always keep the same people in your life once you've made that transformation. But for you, you didn't actually leave your husband. You have moved with your husband out of your parents' house. So talk to me about what that made possible for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we'd been talking for months about how we wanted to live somewhere different. We wanted to be more independent, financially independent, but we only had one wage, regular wage coming in, so we couldn't do that. And then back in the summer, I was so pleased. I'd taken my first paycheck out of the business, and it was substantial enough that I could move out. So we're renting a house at the moment. We're saving a deposit. We're halfway to where we want to be with our deposit to be able to buy a house. We've welcomed a crazy puppy into our lives, which I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but I adore him, but he's crazy. And life has just completely transformed for us. So we're not reliant on anybody else. It is just us, our wages. The business doesn't pay for extras or anything like that. It's not pocket money. It is an actual full wage now, which is the same wage I was taking out of teaching.
Wow. And I know when you raise your prices, you're now going to be earning more than you were before. That is so cool. Steph is watching live and she says, what a story. So inspirational. I know I have wanted to do this story for so long. And Abby's watching as well. And she says, Pixie power. And it's so cool. So true. So true. Nicola says, I'm so happy for you. So inspirational. Crying some happy tears.
Oh, Nicola.
I feel that, Nicola. So here's the other part. And we have to sneak this in. Where in the country are you based in the UK?
I'm in South Wales.
South Wales. So really doing tutoring face-to-face was going to be a challenge for you anyway, based on your location. What has learning how to, what is going online allowed for you? Who are you working with and where are they?
So I'm working with children all over the UK. Most of my children are based in London, Kent, Surrey, Sussex. I do have one child at the moment that's in Morocco.
International, Carrie, you're international.
We've done it, Joy. We're international.
That is so cool. All right, that's awesome. I wasn't expecting that. And then one of the things we talked about on the social media crash course is how you leverage social media to get people onto your mailing list. And I told the story of how you created what's called a lead magnet, but you created a guide for parents who have children with mass anxiety, and you put that on Facebook. And when I checked it a while ago, it had 289 shares. I mean, I'm sure it's had way more than that now. But talk to me about that process. Talk to me about which social media networks are working for you, and also how that guide has worked for you in generating students to work with.
So the guide was crazy. We'd done a session with Teresa on mindset, and it was a just do it, messy action, just get it done. And I've been putting off this lead magnet for like months. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do my basic guide of what I do with my initial students and tips and tricks I give them straight away that can make a difference. And I'll do it in Canva and everything will be fine. So I did it. I did a linkable PDF document, which linked to all my social media, which I was really proud of because I was like, there's no way I'm tech savvy enough to do that. It turns out I am. So I put it all out there, and then I was like, oh God, now I've got to deal with MailChimp because I needed a landing page. How am I going to do this? So I watched the MailChimp bonus and I did all the MailChimp stuff. And I was like, actually, this is all right. So I've done that. And I only put it on Facebook. I didn't put it anywhere else. And it went crazy. Like overnight, it just went crazy. I posted it, and within like 20 minutes, it had like 14 shares. And I was like, that's good. I'm happy with that. And then I think it was you that messaged me, and you were like, it's got up to like 100 shares. And I was like, don't be daft, because I looked at it again. And I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, that's insane. So it's created me a mailing list of 180 people at the moment, and I email them all weekly with a tip or a hint or something that's going on, something that can make maths more accessible for children who are a bit worried about it or anxious or got dyscalculia or something like that. This week's is a recipe, one of my famous recipes coming back, Joe.
I know. Well, we got to preface this. So I'm on your mailing list because I just love your stuff. And at Christmas, you sent out a gingerbread recipe, which I did with my kids, and we made our gingerbread houses and stuff. But talk about how recipes and cooking really helps children with math anxiety.
So the biggest problem with maths anxiety is the fear of the number. So they see numbers and straight away they shut down. It's a fluency exercise and they have to get them all right or it's going to be a disaster. If you use cooking, they're using weights and measures. They're using addition and subtraction skills to make sure the measurements are right. Using their fraction skills to be able to portion everything out. Using time skills to be able to time the cooking. Waiting for the cooling time, and then they're using art and creative skills to be able to decorate wherever they make. So it takes it away from maths activity. So it's kind of like when you sneak vegetables into a blended sauce. It's kind of like that, but in maths talk. So
I love that.
Sneak the maths in there without them realizing, and then you've always got a positive point of reference for them that they managed to achieve that bit of maths without realizing it's even maths.
Well, so you don't just send out recipes, and I'd love to know what, well, I'll just have to check my email to see what recipes sent out. But you also do polls in a private Facebook group, and then you send the link to the polls in your emails so that people will go on and reply to those polls. That is incredibly powerful because you're getting people from your email back into your social engaging. How has that been working for you?
It's been really, really slow. I think the nature of maths anxiety, parents with maths anxious children are worried about talking about their child, not because they're embarrassed or anything like that, but they don't want their child to feel that or to feel any different. So people will open up with me. I get lots and lots of email responses back to the emails I send with wonderful stories and really, really tricky questions, difficult situations, but they're not as inclined to share in the group situation yet. And I think that's because they need to trust each other and know that it is a closed and safe community. So I don't allow any marketing in there. I don't allow any other teachers, tutors, or support like that in there because a mixed message can cause conflict and confusion for people. It's just trying to build that safe space for
But
them.
I love that you're building the safe space. And I also love the side effect of that. So even if they're not quite ready to respond to the polls or respond to what you're getting them back into the group, and you're also getting this private conversation going on between you and them. And that's the most important thing, right? That private conversation, that you're connecting with them on a level and that you're building up that know, like, and trust factor. So I really love that. And I also love the idea of leveraging a Facebook group for a situation like this where the conversation is a little bit more private and it's a little bit more sensitive. And Tony's watching now and she says she loves the idea of polls. She likes the idea of polls, which I think is great. Julia loves your top tip about recipes. So tell us, what is the recipe that you've got this week that's gone out?
So this week we've got 2 recipes coming up. So this week we have Halloween cupcakes because everybody needs a Halloween cupcake, right?
Yes.
And next week we have spider pizzas for Halloween.
Spider pizzas. Oh my word. So where can people get a hold of, how can people get onto your mailing list so they can get these amazing recipes?
So you can join the mailing list on my website, which is engageeducation.org. And on the bottom of every page, there's a link to the mailing list. You can also find my blog on there. So if you know someone who's maths anxious or you're a bit maths anxious yourself, you can have a look on there for lots of hints and tips, games to play, things to do with your children that can boost their confidence.
That is so good. Well, Lucy's here. She says, this is amazing. I love everything. I love that everything is so relatable. Do you need to be good at maths to be a good cook?
No.
Good. That means
That's all.
there's hope for us all.
There's hope. There's hope.
And Zoe's watching live and she says, wow, Carrie, there's nothing stopping you. Simply inspirational journey. And I mean, I can't wait to interview Zoe as well. She's built up a huge teaching community on Facebook in a private Facebook group. And she's inspiring them to thrive after teaching, to move beyond teaching, which is so cool. Christina's here and she says, your business sounds fantastic. I wish I had access to someone like you when I was a child. I'm going to subscribe to your mailing list now. That is so cool.
Thank you, Christina.
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to all the Tech Pixies who've shown up this morning. There's a great conversation in the chat going on. Okay, so I guess let's just go through how you would describe yourself before Tech Pixies and how you would describe yourself now.
Before Tech Pixies, I was full of self-doubt. I thought I was going to be forever trapped in the classroom. And I don't mean that in a sense of with the children, because teaching is the best bit of the job. The problem is we do very little teaching in the classroom now. There's so much that goes on besides that. My work-life balance was non-existent. My family didn't know who I was. I would regularly work over 60 hours in a week to try and get everything done. I was lucky if I took an afternoon off on a Saturday. Now, financially, I'm in the same boat and it's improving all of the time. I'm happier. I'm far more confident than I've ever been. I have my weekends off. So my laptop is closed at 6 o'clock on a Friday and I do not deal with work again until 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. I've never done that until now. And I don't feel any guilt anymore. I used to feel terrible guilt for it. I've taken my work emails off my phone. So if they have an email over the weekend, I don't know about it. I've also set up a business phone. So if they ring me, text me, leave me messages, whatever, I don't know about it. It's family time. It's not work time anymore. And without Tech Pixies, I wouldn't have done any of this at all.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I
need to take a lesson out of your book. Can you do a lead magnet for that, please? Okay, so now what does the future look like for you?
So I'm now offering group lessons. This slow building at the moment, focusing mainly on the 11 plus. And again, for children that aren't that confident, because it's really overpowering and overwhelming for children if you've always got that one kid in the class that's sticking their hand up. Like it's hard to overcome that. And online, there's so many different ways they can share their answers. They don't need to do that. So confidence builds quite quickly. So I've set up a Kent Test mailing list as well, which has got a lead magnet for the ultimate guide to the Kent Test. And I am also at the moment doing a branded business book course with Claire Clark, which is fantastic. So I can make my journal. So all of my maths anxious children will now have their own paper copy of a maths journal to see their journey and how they go. And there's also one in the pipeline for my group lessons as well. And I can make notebooks. So what more do you need? I can make a notebook with little squared paper in and everyone can do their maths. It's going to be great.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh, I just love that. What would you say to someone who's on the fence? Because I know a lot of people are looking at social media mastery and they're like, whoa, that's a big investment. And one of the things I tell people is it's not an investment in the program. It's an investment in you. Like you've got to do the work, right? I mean, we just provide the environment and the training to get you going. So what would you say to someone that's on the fence?
Do it. Just do it. If you're in a position where it's even remotely possible, just do it. I have not looked back. The support in the community is out of this world. I've never experienced it anywhere else. The mindset stuff will change your life without a doubt. There's no way that it won't. And then when you add in the social media skills to go with that, like I only really leverage Facebook at the moment. I don't really use the other channels probably as much as I should be, but Facebook seems to be where my people are. So that's where I'm going to hang out on my email list. But there's no way I thought I'd ever have an email list. And now I've got 2.
Well, now, my next question is going to be, when are you going to start putting a little paid advertising behind these lead magnets?
I did for the Kent test. I did some paid advertising on Facebook for my Kent Test Ultimate Guide. And I earned my money back with a one-to-one client in a week.
Oh my God. Carrie. I mean, like, I'm gonna interview you in like 10 years and you're gonna be like famous, the most famous math tutor in the world. Not that you're not already. You know, it's so funny. It's like, you know, the story of Thomas Edison. You know, he the light bulb, the ability to create the light bulb existed. He just had to work out, you know, how to do it. And I just see such an incredible future for you, and that's what's so much fun for me, especially since, you know, I think the Tech Pixies world had a huge impact on your life. If anyone's watching live right now and wants to ask a question, this would be a great time. Chris says, "Go, Carrie, go." Stephanie says, "Very inspirational. I'm going to let my friends know who are working in schools." Abby thinks world domination next. Well, she's already going there. She's already got international students. And then Nicola wants to know when you're going to start employing other tutors.
I've thought about it. I have thought about it. But they would have to be so on my brand to be able to do that. Like, a lot of the feedback that I get is the children respond to me and the methods that I'm using and the way that I manage the situation. So I would have to be 100% that the other tutor was completely on board with exactly the same ethos before I'd even consider it. So
I think that sounds like a really good maths anxiety certification program.
It does.
Just throwing that out there. All right, Abby was like, I did say that to you in Christmas last year. So when you do it and it works, you can come back to me. All right. So Abby says, any tips for learning times tables for an 8-year-old? That's a great question.
That is a great question. Persistence. Times tables are boring. Make them with as many games as you can. There's a website I use with all of my students called timestable.co.uk. It's free to set up a login detail for it, and they can win. They can get diplomas, they get certificates, they get trophies, ribbons, medals, all the things that kids love. There's games on there as well. And if your child is looking at doing the multiplication checker test, which only happens in England, it doesn't happen in Wales, there's like a mock version of that so they can get used to it, because they only have 6 seconds to answer a question. But generally with times tables, if you can learn your 2s, your 5s and your 10s, from there you can get to any of the others. It's just addition and subtraction. So it's just persistence, and don't put any pressure on it. It'll happen when it happens.
So one thing my husband does with our kids, which is super fun, and he did it when they were that age and still does it now as we're helping our son with stuff, is he gets them to do the times tables as they're going up the stairs to bed. So each stair, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way up to the top. We're now on to the 6s and the 7s and the 8s, which are pretty tricky. So I love that. This is so good. And Abby says, thanks. She has to do all up to 12 times by the end of the year. Absolutely. So I think definitely go check out the website that Carrie recommended. And if you got stairs in your house, maybe try that trick too. And I love how you said start with 2, 5, and 10, because that is so true. If they get confidence with that and they think it's, you know, easy, then going to 3, 6, and 11 is a lot easier as well. So that's a great, great tip. It's been so awesome hanging out with you. I just, you know, you light up my world, and all the Tech Pixies do, to be honest. I was saying on Julia's podcast as well that, you know, on the Friday post, when people post their wins for the week, it's like, it's just the coolest thing to read, you know, because there's a win. You can find a win in every situation, in every week. You just have to look for it. And what most people are doing is they're looking for what's not working. They're not looking for what's working. And it's by looking regularly at what's working and finding gratitude in that you know, a grateful person expects great things. And I just love that. So do you have any final words of wisdom for those who are watching or listening?
Just if you have a dream, just go for it. Because I always used to listen to things like this and be like, yeah, it happens to other people. Those sorts of things happen to other people. It's just a marketing ploy. Those people aren't real. It's just trying to trick me into doing something. Those people aren't real. Tech Pixies people are real. These stories happen. I've seen it with the cohort that I came through with. Loads of us have done such amazing things since. And if you've got a dream and you're willing to work for it, it'll happen for you. It may take a bit longer, it may be quicker, but it will happen. It'll get there. You've just got to be persistent.
I love that. That's such great advice. Well, thanks again for joining me today. This was an amazing opportunity to speak to someone who has just had a huge transformation, and I so appreciate your time and being here. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Wow, that was amazing. I am so excited that I got to interview Carrie. And I want to really thank you as well if you've joined us live for listening and watching. And of course, if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for taking the time to put us in your earbuds. You can find more about Tech Pixies at techpixies.com. And if you're interested in our social media mastery program, you can go to techpixies.com/yes. Applications are open. They close on Friday of the 22nd of October. So if you're interested in applying for the Social Media Mastery Program, I suggest you get going right away. And I look forward to seeing and reading the applications. Have a great day.